Welcome back to the 6th video of Intro to ArcGIS Online video series. In this video, we are going to learn how to bring in CSV data into ArcGIS Online in our map document using the latitude and longitude field in your CSV. So let's take a look at that. We are going to start the video off in my content page in ArcGIS Online. Now it doesn't matter which page you're at. What I want to be able to do is just be able to search for a file. So we're going to search for a file called community housing data-mh, hit enter. First you'll see nothing, but that's because I've uploaded that file that I want you guys to download onto my own personal account. So you will need to toggle this button here where I turn off the filter to search for other data set in the ArcGIS Online cloud. So scroll through, you'll see that there are some layered package dataset, some application, some feature layers, and then if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see a community housing data-mh. So that's my file, and you can confirm it by looking at my profile. That is me for sure, my bio, everything. So let's click on this item here, and this will take you to the page of the item, which is a CSV. So we're going to download the CSV. So download the CSV on your local computer or your local drive. I'm going to hit save on my desktop. And I'm going to open up this data set. Let me bring that in. Oops. So in the CSV, you'll see all the information of buildings owned by the Toronto Community Housing. And you'll find a lot of information like when it was built, what neighborhood it's in, the building ID, as well as the latitude and longitude, which is what we want. So let's bring the CSV in as a layer for our map. So going back to our content page, so here I am in that CSV I just downloaded. I'm going to go into content. We are going to add an item. So we're going to add that CSV file we downloaded. Click on choose file and then find that CSV file. So it would be this one here. We're going to let it load and then give it a name. So community housing, I'm going to take out data and put my initials again. So do that for your layer as well. Give it a tag. So this is Toronto Community Housing, Toronto Housing. Leave the publish this file as a hosted layer on. So check this on because we want this to be a layer on our map. So leave this on. And we're going to locate feature by coordinates. So what happens is when I uploaded this file here, ArcGIS Online already detected the latitude and longitude field. So if I scroll down here, you'll see the longitude and latitude has been matched with a location fields, which are the longitude and latitude, MGRS, USNG. These two I've never used before, so keep it as longitude and latitude. Now let's specify the time zone you're in. So this becomes very important, especially when you have some date and time field inside your data set. So we don't have that, but it's always good practice to include that. So I'm going to find Eastern time because that's where I am right now. I might have missed it. Hold on. Right here. And we're going to add item. So let's add that item in. Oops. So it says the title of a service may only contain alphanumeric characters or underscore. So that's a great segue to let you know that the title of your layer name initially is very sensitive to the different symbology or numbers you use. So we are just going to leave it as community housing and MH. Take out that because I think that's what's tripping it out. So let's hit add item. So now it's uploading item and it tells you the status at the bottom here. Oh, that was quick. So now it's loading and it's brought us to our items page. And you'll see shortly the points here and the thumbnail preview. What we're going to go ahead and do is give it a description. Remember, good practice to always do this. Toronto Community Housing Layer save that. Keep in mind the summary and descriptions could be more detailed. This is a demo, so I want to go through as much content as I can. So now we are going to bring this layer into our map. So let's navigate to our map document. We'll go into my content, find the folder you've been saving your files in. So mine is in share, so let's click on that. And you'll notice that there are 3 files in there. We have our layers that we've created, as well as the affordability map of Toronto. So I'm going to actually click on the 3 dots for more option and open the map in Map Viewer. So that's another way to open your document or your layer in Map Viewer. So now we can see that we have our neighborhood level where we applied the relationship styles to it in the last video. So let's bring our Toronto community housing data set. Let's click on Add Layer. We're going to find that community housing, add that in, and you'll see these are all points representing the Toronto community housing buildings. So if I click on one, it tells you the ID, what the building description is, units, latitude and longitude, which is how we map these data, postal code, neighborhood ID, and other information. So everything carried forward, it looks good. Now, if we go into the table view, so more options here, click on Show Table, we'll see that there are 2,067 records. We'll also notice that not all units are subsidized units for these community housing. So if we take a look at the metadata for the open data site, you'll see that there are different unit types. So there are total residential units, total market units, and units that are rent geared to income. So this here means that they're subsidized units, and the total market units are the rental units that are not subsidized. So going back to my map here, what I want to do is actually filter out the data set that has 0 market units. So that would be this column here. So like we did earlier, filtering out polygons, we are going to filter these point data set. So let's go in and close this table here and click on Filter. We're going to add an expression to filter out the market units. So the field we're interested is MRKT_unit. So that found it. We're going to hit Replace. We're going to choose market unit that is equal to 0. And then we're going to hit Save. So that reduced all the points that had rental units. So the buildings that had rental units, we are just going to disregard. And these are all the houses that are purely subsidized by the government. So this is what we have as our map right now. We have a lot of community housing concentrated in the east end of the downtown core. So that is a good thing. We also have a lot of concentrated subsidized housing on the northeast end, and a lot here actually. That's really good. But is that really what the points are trying to tell us? Well, let's first stylize our data set and see if there's more to these points. So selecting the community housing layer, we are going to click on Styles, which is the second icon here. So if you hover over it, you'll see it. We can play around with the themes right now. There's the heat map. So this usually shows up when there are point data set, and you get to see kind of the concentration of where there are a lot of community housing, and that makes sense, that neighborhood in Toronto. But what else can we do? Well, we know that in our data set, so let's turn this off here. In our data set, we have unit information. Oops, that is not our data set. In our community housing data set, we have information in terms of how old the building is, what type of building it is, and total units. So we should actually focus to see whether each point is equivalent to another point in this data set. So let's click on Field. We are going to map things out by total unit. So total residential unit, so that's this one, You'll see what these abbreviation means in the metadata in the Toronto Open Data site. I'm going to add that in. And you'll first realize that this color is very harsh on the eye. So let's change that color to yellow because it just looks better. And you can see now it's a different story. Well, you have a high concentration of community housing in, what was it, Lawrence Manor area. However, they're just 1 units. They're tiny. They're only serving 6 people or 6 units of household. Whereas in areas like here, this unit is huge. It must be either a high rise or somewhat, so it is a high rise, and it houses, or it has the total number of unit of 469. So that's a good sign, right? So each point, it's not equal to each other. They have different unit size, meaning they house or they accommodate a different amount of people. So I'm pretty satisfied with this map. It's definitely visualizing things I didn't see earlier. I can even play around and maybe play around with the sizing of the dots. I think it could be highly exaggerated or normalized or minimized, but I'm gonna add it to here and then check off the adjust size automatically, which is basically as you zoom in and out, the sizes will adjust to your zoom levels. So I'm happy with that. Now let's save this map first. Going into my legend, let's see my legend. So my legend is definitely, it needs some work to be done. I can just quickly change that total unit field to a more understandable field name. So I'm going to do that. Total residential unit. Hit done. Right there, done. Let's see if it's reflected. Yep. We're going to give it a new layer name, Toronto Community Housing, and hit OK. Go to our legend. Oops, that's charts. Legend here. And everything looks really good, so I'm going to hit save. In this video, we visualize these points as more than just a dot on a map by changing its styles. In the next video, we can see the results and stylize our pop-up with useful information. Until then, happy mapping!